finding the right staff that aligns with your vision and values. I mean, you see hospices come and go every day. No one has my vision, no one has my values, and I think what makes a good leader, a good company, is getting everyone buying into your vision.
Yep.
And this is why I truly think we're growing and why we're probably better than the rest.
Getting the right people on the bus, having the right team around you makes all the difference. If you get too locked into a specific structure, if you're too tactical and you're following that roadmap too closely, it doesn't allow you to bend at all. It doesn't allow you to make the right decision for the patient at the right time. It doesn't make sense that you would want to do this if you don't have a deep purpose. It's not a highly rewarding job.
If you take care of the patient that you're seeing today, like you'll take care of your own loved one, you'll deliver the most compassionate care possible.
Know when to press, know when to step back a little bit.
Dying with dignity.
In the art of death and dying, that they celebrated life. They celebrated just as if you were born.
When you sign up for Valor Hospice, you're my family now. A lot of people will probably go out of business if Medicaid keeps, dragging their feet.
Consider what most people would look at as failure, just your first roadblock.
All right, welcome to Our Purpose Podcast, the podcast where stories from skilled nursing and long-term care come to life. I'm your host, Kip Kruger, a voice shaped by experience inside the industry and a belief that every person has a purpose and their story is worth telling. Today, we have our co-host and CEO of Principal Health Systems, Mr. James Dieter.
Happy to be here, Kip.
Glad you are here as well, too. And we have a very, very special guest, one of my good friends. And I may suggest he's probably the best upcoming golfer that I know.
Whoa.
Definitely better than his brother.
Oh, no.
Owner, CEO of Valor Hospice, Mr. Garrett King.
Appreciate the invite, Kip, and what an introduction.
Yeah, thank you. It's glad to be here. I want to first talk about golf.
Okay.
What kind of golf clubs are you hitting these days?
My irons are TaylorMade.
Nice.
I have a ping driver. Actually, pretty much everything is TaylorMade. But my driver's a ping.
Good for you.
Yeah.
James?
Very, very forgiving clubs, by the way.
Got to have the forgive, right?
Yes.
What about you, James?
I hit Callaway all the way. Yeah. All Callaways. Titleist balls.
Yeah?
Callaway.
You hit those Pro V1s?
I hit those Pro V1s.
Man, I hit the Pro V.
When you get to play golf 3 times a year, only the best.
My Pro V1s go straight into the water.
Yeah.
So I use the Kirkland balls now.
No noodles?
No noodles. Used to. But the other day, I went to a simulator. I was going to buy a new driver because mine accidentally broke. So I walked in there and
I broke over his knee.
I was about to say over your knee.
It was somewhat to the story. I can tell the story a little bit later. Anyway, so I went to the driving range, the simulator, and I hit 1 million different drivers. And I left with no driver. I could not hit it well. I didn't feel good. It just wasn't the right thing for me that day.
It's like the intro to the show.
Yeah, it just
try and try
to get it right.
Was that a fitting?
It was fitting. And I told him, I felt bad. I was like, can't do it.
Man, I didn't enjoy my fitting. I'm somewhat OCD in a way, and I wanted my whole bag to be tailor-made.
Yeah.
And I told him, I was like, I really like this new the QI35 driver.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, well, we're going to try out 4. Well, when you do a 90-minute fitting, it's 400 swings.
Yeah.
He made tailor-made the last club. So I was sweating. I haven't sweat that much since football back in the day.
Yeah.
But he was like, you're not good at that one. You need to do the ping, which was my first club. I was like, yeah, I was 100%. I did my tailor-made at 0%.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you just hit better here. So I ended up buying the ping, and I love it, but I'm just like, I wish I would have had tailor-made to go with my whole tailor-made clubs.
You can still do both.
I might.
Yeah.
I might.
Man, let's talk about Valor Hospice.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about Garrett King. Let's talk about who Garrett King is. Tell all of our beautiful listeners, tell them your story. I know you got a cool story. I'm excited to hear it, excited to jump in. So let's start from the very beginning. Take it away for us.
Absolutely. Valor Hospice. I am the owner, CEO of Valor Hospice. I do have 2 partners, which is my dad, Don King, who's kind of a legend in our industry in the hospice area and nursing homes. And then his wife, Janice King. Opened up Valor going on 4 years. December 18th will be our 4-year anniversary.
Good show.
It's truly been a blessing. You know, this is my dream.
Nice.
Always wanted to open up a hospice, kind of follow the footsteps of my dad.
Yeah.
Very big footsteps.
Mm-hmm.
You know, somewhat intimidating, but I love challenges. I'm very competitive. You know, I want to be successful, but I also want to do the right thing and impact lives. So, you know, with hospice, that's like the perfect thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, 4 years later, we have 3 offices, 140 employees. Thinking about doing our next office, probably early next year, and just life's been a blessing. So,
good.
It's great.
Yeah.
Where are you leaning for this next office?
East Texas.
East Texas.
East Texas or San Antonio. You know, you have to be strategic when opening up an office. You know, what's going to be the most successful, quicker. And I think East Texas might be that one.
Mm-hmm.
So even though I really want to do San Antonio for food purposes, I'm gonna have to say no to that. And do East
Got to
Texas.
get that J Prime over there.
Yeah, they got some good food. Get some good barbacoa in San Antonio.
Yeah.
Barbacoa and Big Red.
Tacos every night.
Yeah.
Do it.
We've opened up a couple of new offices, and so as an entrepreneurial spirit, James, what do you look for in opening up a new office, opening up a new space? Like what's watch out? What's exciting about that?
Yeah, I mean, when you're looking at a de novo facility, I think you know, market opportunity, right? It's like, where are the relationships? Where do you know that you're going to start out? I mean, I'm sure you have that going for you. I'd be interested in hearing the same question from you. But yeah, I mean, we look at what is the demand, what is the market opportunity, what is the cost of actual, you know, we see a huge variability amongst pay throughout even the state of Texas. You know, we're in 9 states, 10 states now. But you know, that's a big determining factor now as to what does it actually cost for the folks delivering care on the ground. And that has to go into the decision as well. And then routes and just communication and treatment. I mean, it's challenging the logistics when you start multiple offices in the scale. So as you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with everything you just said. You know, when we did Houston, I guess I wasn't really prepared for how much of a beast Houston is.
Mm-hmm.
Competitive wise, just how large it is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we probably need 3 or 4 offices in Houston.
Right.
Yeah.
Our office is central, like in the Galleria area, but you know, we go as far as Atascocita, Texas City, Katy, and my geographical Houston map is not the best, so we go far.
Yeah.
But my dad was here last week, and he called me afterwards, and he was like, you know, Houston's bigger than the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. Like, we need to treat it like that because we have an office in Fort Worth and Dallas. So, I think we're gonna have multiple offices here.
Good.
Probably soon too.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
How big is Houston? I know it's huge. I should have a number.
Isn't it 7 million? I mean, from a population standpoint, I think if you include the greater Houston area, I think it's 7-8 million now.
It's a lot of people. It's a lot of lives.
And that's the Metroplex. Like, that's including like Katy. And I mean, I think, you know, I consider Woodlands Houston. I'm sure Houston people don't, but you know.
No, we do. I mean, we typically look at that. It's you know, if you look at the greater Houston area is 7.8 million residents. It's the 5th most populous metropolitan area in the nation, and it's actually second most after Dallas. The Dallas is larger. Dallas-Fort Worth. When we ran our numbers and we looked at specifically assisted living, skilled nursing, we actually did see there was more population and more homes and residents inside the DFW area.
Wow.
So, yeah, we look at that as a larger, and frankly, for our business, DFW is now larger than Houston. Even though we started here and we majority of the market share, it is larger. It's just a huge area. I mean, we're, you know, just being a Texan in general, and then now we've got what is it, like 4% accretive. I mean, we have so many people moving into the state from California, New York, et cetera, et cetera. So it's just the growth is staggering. So, yeah. What from an entrepreneurial standpoint, what did you think was the most surprising? Obviously there's a lot of challenges that you encounter starting out.
At the very 4 years ago, opening Valor, finding the right staff that aligns with your vision and values. I think that's why Valor is doing so great because, out of 140 employees, they know the vision and values that I have for this company. Yeah. Starting out was rocky. So I think a lot of my employees now, having a startup company, that's scary, especially with some very experienced hospice professionals who are, don't want to jump ship to a startup company. I mean, you see hospices come and go every day.
Yeah.
When I, told everyone I'm starting up a hospice company, a lot of people were like, gosh, why would you do that? Hospice is so saturated. And, my reply back was, no one has my vision. No one has my values. And, I think what makes a good leader, a good company is getting everyone buying into your vision.
Yep.
Yeah.
And, that's why we're successful. 4 years, 140 employees later, 3 offices, going to do 4.
How many lives did you say?
Huh?
How many lives do you serve?
Oh, a lot.
A bunch.
Yeah.
Good for y'all.
I mean, a lot. I came in thousands.
What do you think sets besides like your culture and your vision? What other things do you think separate Valor from other hospices?
So I've been in hospice for 11 years.
Yeah.
I worked for my parents. They owned Envoy Hospice, and I saw the values of a family-owned company. And I like the values of a family-owned company. The best decision I ever made, though, was to branch off, leave my family's company, and go work for a bigger corporation so I can see the values of a corporation. So I worked for 2 large hospices in Texas that are nationwide. And I saw things I liked and I saw things I don't like.
What did you like and what didn't you like?
They have corporations structure-wise, they have a good structure. And when I say structure, things in place. Support, orientation's amazing. Everything's just perfect.
Yeah.
What I didn't like is, there's some things that, you can kind of be relaxed on. For example, and this is why I truly think we're growing and why we're probably better than the rest. I don't want to sound arrogant, but, we are really good.
It's just confidence.
Confidence, yeah. Absolutely. But with working for these bigger corporations, I didn't like, they followed a very strict staffing matrix. Strict. If you don't hit this number, you're not going to hire a nurse. Yeah. If you don't hit this number, you're not going to hire an on-call nurse. How we operate in Valor is we staff for a need.
Yeah.
If we see a need, if we see growth, we're going to go ahead and plan for growth. And, corporate wise, I think that was a lot of negative effects. Our staff or our employees were burnt out. When I see employees and, I know that they're working hard, we'll talk with them. Hey, what do you think, we need here? Oh, we need a nurse. Do you see growth in this area? Absolutely. So just listening to our employees, planning for growth, and, understanding that, this is an investment right now, but it's going to be an amazing 6 months from now.
Yeah.
So I think our staffing is just amazing.
Yeah, this sounds a lot like the last guest we had on. We talked through just getting the right people on the bus, having the right team around you makes all the difference. And then it's a practice, right? It's if you get too locked into a specific structure, if you're too tactical and you're following that roadmap too closely, it doesn't allow you to bend at all. It doesn't allow you to make the right decision for the patient at the right time or the opportunity. That's such a big piece of this, right?
Definitely. And we just, going back to the very beginning, it's all about just, as an owner, as the CEO, just your morals, your values, know, and just making sure everyone aligns to it. I'm trying to attend all our all staff meetings. When I hire people, I'm like, I might be one of the most invested operation. I'm involved with Valor. I'm not an owner that's going to be making calls in the Bahamas.
Right.
I want to be involved.
I want to go to the Bahamas.
Well, one day, let's go.
One day. That'd be nice. I do see you a lot on social media. I see you doing a lot of really cool stuff. At first, I saw it a couple times when you're grilling and chilling and all kinds of cool stuff. Like, tell me, where'd that come from? That's pretty cool. See it everywhere.
People love food.
People love food.
Yeah, the last 2 weeks, I pretty much was not in the office. I exchanged my suit for, spatula, and I was cooking for facilities, nursing homes, assisted livings,
Nice.
doctors' offices, truly for the last 2 weeks, Saturday, Sunday, just showing appreciation to these facilities.
Yeah.
Because sometimes they don't get a lot of the love that they deserve.
Sure.
Nursing homes, assisted living, that's hard work.
People work so hard in this industry. It doesn't make sense that you would want to do this if you don't have a deep purpose.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
I mean, that is why you would do this job. I mean, this is not something, it's not a highly rewarding job. You maybe reward yourself from, you feel good about what you've done, but it's such a challenging space.
My wife's a nursing home administrator. Seeing the things that she has to go through,
Mhm.
I mean, I don't go through half of that. I mean, I have so much respect for nursing home administration, just everyone who works in the nursing home. I mean, it's, you're running a household of 200 people, not 200 people, 150 to 200 people.
Yeah.
And, so many different problems that she runs into. And she handles it so good. I adore my wife so much, like just
Awesome.
how well she, prioritize, being a nursing home.
Takes it in stride.
Like,
Yeah.
She's so good.
So you mentioned in the beginning, you had to get the right people that really followed your mission, your vision. You mentioned that, and I want to double click on that. So, speak to Valor's vision or your mission. What do you want your people to know? Like, what defines Valor?
Mhm. Absolutely. So every all staff meeting, I might sound like a broken record to all my staff, but it has to be engraved in their mind that this is why we're doing this. If you take care of the patient that you're seeing today, like you'll take care of your own loved one, you'll deliver the most compassionate care possible. No matter if you're having a bad day when you're walking into their house, their nursing home, their assisted living,
Mhm.
you realize that today could be their last day. You have to have that compassionate of knowing that compassionate of what you will take care of, like how you'll take care of your mom, your wife. You deliver that compassionate, we'll be the best hospice ever.
Yeah.
And we do it. So I think it's coming from a compassionate level. I think we're the most compassionate.
That's awesome.
And I think every hospice will say that, but I truly believe it because I preach it every day.
Yeah.
Well, if you're in there every day, that makes a big difference, right? I mean, the founder of the company is the guardian of the company's soul, right? And that soul is something that you can't really just put up on the wall and expect everybody to follow. It's something you've got to preach daily. They've got to see you behave the same way. You out cooking for the last 2 weeks, serving that food. I mean, you're practicing what you preach. That's great.
Absolutely.
I love that.
What are you cooking? I gotta know. Like, I see you cooking. Are you cooking ribs? You cooking hamburgers? What do you got?
Burgers, hot dogs, tacos. I did have a facility. Their corporate was in town, and they brought me ribeyes. That was the
Nice.
first.
That's awesome.
And they gave me a list of how they like their ribs or their steak.
Yeah.
And someone had it. They're like raw. I was like,
Raw,
yeah,
not
and I was
rare.
Like, no,
raw.
yeah, they wrote raw, and I was like, what do you mean? Oh, they meant rare, but
Yeah,
so yeah,
that's better than well done.
Oh my gosh,
Yes.
one person had well done too. I was like, who are
It
you?
hurts. It always hurts to cook a steak. Well done.
Yeah. I can't. I gotta have mine. I'm a medium rare type guy, but I like a little crust on the edge.
Medium rare plus.
I was about to say medium rare pluses.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way to go.
I think we're talking about steak. I want to diverse a little. Houston has the best steakhouse ever. Steak 48,
Steak 48.
best
Man,
steakhouse ever.
It is definitely we frequent that one when we are in town, specifically on business, and it's just become a staple. But they have a dessert there. Everybody loves a steak. The appetizers are phenomenal. They actually have a red velvet bread pudding.
That's what.
It is unbelievable. Do you have it?
Yes. Yeah.
Don't they have those little lobster,
Chicken fried lobster.
chicken fried lobster?
That's
We
fine.
had that one time. That
Yes.
was amazing.
Yeah. We
We
sometimes do board meetings there.
We should go
or
for
board dinners
lunch.
there. Yeah. You go there for lunch, you're going to sleep all day.
Absolutely.
Dude,
They do it right.
I'm interested in asking this kind of a question. Like, as a former administrator myself, how do you, as a loved one from an administrator, give them support?
It's a good question.
Be understanding.
Yeah.
I mean, The other day, she had to leave, about, 1 a.m. to go handle something at the nursing home. I could see some people getting frustrated with just the time, effort of their loved one spending at the nursing home. But, you have to understand that, that it is a full-time job, like 24/7. So being understanding, be supportive. We have a 2-year-old daughter. My wife knows that, if she has to work late, I'm there for my daughter.
Yeah.
We're very blessed that my schedule is very flexible. I always mess around saying, I'm the stay-at-home dad.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah,
just being understanding, knowing the stress that she's going through, knowing that, she's on call 24/7. So
it's a tough spot. I think we talked about that last episode too, being just the weight of the stress of being on call 24/7. It's a lot, but we also talked about how to manage the stress, how to deal with the stress. And we talked about the importance of getting away a little bit, getting away, kind of detaching yourself. Like, I think you have to take care of yourself. And I think if I have any words of advice for any young administrators, it's number one, take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. Know when to press, know when to step back a little bit. And I think if you can have the maturity level more than I had as an administrator, the stress level can be reduced a little bit, and you can take care of your folks better because you're better.
Absolutely. And something I've realized during Samantha's career path of being an administrator is being that ear to listen to. Like, she comes home with so many stories, just wanting to just talk and vent. And sometimes just being that ear, being that shoulder. She's had a bad day and want to cry on, goes a long way.
I think it parallels a little bit with the stresses of long-term care come with what I would say is a little bit of unfortunate circumstances. I would say that the journey of people getting into a nursing home started with a fall, started with mom or dad getting sick, unexpectedly or expectedly, having a stroke, you name it. And I felt like some of the most challenging family members were the ones that were least prepared. They were least prepared to enter into a nursing home. They didn't do some homework. They had no prior knowledge. My family was the same way. My family had no prior experience before they put my grandma in the nursing home of what to look for, what to not look for, what to do prior to. How do you prepare? You're a little bit different, but kind of the same. How do you prepare people for next step in life?
Yeah, and actually, let's back up a little bit before you answer his question on next step in life. But I think there's folks that will listen to this that don't truly understand hospice. Could you maybe break that down? I think there's a lot of misconceptions as to what is and what isn't hospice. Mm-hmm. I'd love for your position on that, because as we talk about folks that move from a facility, maybe a AL or SNF, into hospice, or coming from acute care to hospice, what does that look like? What is the journey there? But what is hospice really serving, and what is the mission there?
Absolutely. Hospice is quality of life. We're going to make sure the quality of life, when someone is hospice ready, it's a diagnosis of 6 months or less to live. Mm-hmm. So making sure the quality of life is where it needs to be. With hospice, we provide, RN services, CNA services, spiritual services, social workers, volunteers.
How much of the support is for the patient and their quality of life, and how much is for the family of the patient?
So it goes hand in hand. I mean, the family is a huge part also. So, the compassion that we give to the patient is the same amount of compassion we give to the family.
Yeah.
Because also with hospice, we do bereavement. So we follow the family for 13 months after the patient passes away.
That's awesome. Wow.
So yes, it's truly making sure they're comfortable, patient's comfortable, family's comfortable. I mean, the dying process can be hard to cope.
Yeah.
So we have the best social workers, best chaplains for that reason. So.
I actually did I was trying to recall if it was my FNP or RN, but at some point I trained within a hospice facility, mm-hmm. and it was like an inpatient hospice facility. Yes. So can you maybe just give a little bit of background on when is it inpatient, and is that still a thing? I mean, this was quite a while ago.
Yeah. So, inpatient, I mean, there's, inpatient is really, really critical. It's, usually the patient is, has uncontrolled, pain, just symptoms are, uncontrollable. It's, if they're going to pass away within 5 days, like it's
that's when they go inpatient is under 5 days.
Yes. And, also we can do that, there's a service called continuous care, which will have a nurse bedside 24/7 to control pain or be bedside during when the patient passes away. But those are the severe pain management, symptom management cases.
Yeah, gotcha.
There's, a lot of times the patients pass away peacefully.
Mm-hmm.
But, continuous care and, GIP, general inpatient, is for us to make sure that pain is managed and quality of life is there.
Yep. One of my first rotations I ever participated in, I was thrown into this hospice facility, inpatient hospice facility. And I was under the impression I was so new that it was going to be more of a just kind of observation type scenario. And I get there, and within the first hour, they said, "Hey, I'd like for you to go into room 7 down there and shave, this Mr. whatever his name was, right?" And I go into the room, and I came back up to the desk, and I said, he's dead."
Yeah.
And they were like, "Yeah, we know, but his family's coming to see him, and he hasn't shaven.
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead and shave." So that was one of my first clinical duties. I don't know if you can call that clinical, but my first things I ever did in medicine was shave a man's face that was passed away. And I thought, like, after the fact, you go, okay, this is the compassion. They, the family came in. They had gotten him fully dressed, and he was shaved. He just looked great.
Absolutely.
It was just such a difference from when I first walked in that room to by the time the family got there. But that's such a big piece of this, right? Is just what the presentation and dying with dignity.
Absolutely. There's definitely a need for, you're starting to see them more often as, general inpatient unit, freestanding, units for hospice patients. Because a lot of people, don't want to die, or their loved one to die at the house. They want, in an inpatient unit or a facility. In Fort Worth, there's quite a bit of, inpatient units popping up. And so there's definitely a need for that.
Mm-hmm.
As an administrator, I always thought that it was interesting, different, that we may not have prepared for death or celebrated the art of dying.
Yeah.
And I think that hospice plays a huge role in patient education and family education, probably more than that. I think there's an art. There's something special about preparing. And I saw a Facebook post the other day that said, "We are preparing our dad to transition to heaven." And I was like, wow, what a cool outlook on life that we prepare to have children. I have 2 of my own, and we prepared for 9 months after we found out to welcome 2 little girls into the world, right? And so when my grandmother was on hospice, we prepared her to transition to heaven, right? And so how is Valor doing, and what kind of training and education pieces do you have, and do you give family members to prepare for that transition? Because it can be beautifully.
Absolutely. What you said, just education, we make sure that our staff, social workers, chaplains, RNs are trained and knowledgeable of the dying process. You don't want a nurse, a chaplain, social worker walk into your house and really not know what they're doing, but
sure.
you can tell if someone wings it or not.
Mm-hmm.
So the education, the preparation that we have for our staff is next level. We want people to walk in. We want our staff to walk in confident, knowing like they're the professionals here. So, it's all about confidence and preparation of the knowledge of what's happening when it's happening.
I would assume there would be a lot of answering questions.
Oh.
Because when my grandfather transitioned, it was I had a little bit with hospice. There were still questions that I think I know this answer, but it was wonderful that there was a nurse sitting there with us that could answer all the questions.
Absolutely, and that's make you rest easy. If you're visiting your father and you're going home, all your questions are answered. You can have a peace of mind of like, he's being taken care of. Everything's going to, part of the care plan, part of the plan. And, that makes the rest easy tonight.
Talk about the care plan a little bit. What kind of care plan what's that about?
Every one of our patients has a customized care plan fitted for that patient. We don't have a general, I don't think any hospice has a general care plan for a patient. Every patient's different.
Yeah.
If a patient needs 5 days a week CNA visits, they'll get 5 days a week. If they need 3 or need 1, every care plan is different. It's tailored just for that patient, for Mrs. Smith. So,
one of my goals for this podcast is to educate and provide ideas for folks that are listening so that they can have a better experience, and from the care providers to the families, et cetera. So I'm going to just mention this as my experience. And I'm curious because you probably see this, but do you culturally, the dying process, and as you mentioned, the transition, right? It's such a different way to think about it. I see that I used to see that when I used to be in the acute care setting and the cardiac side. I would see, I was around people that died regularly and would see how differently it was racially and culturally.
Yeah.
It is incredible. And I feel like there should be education out there and that we should try to maybe even talk about that a little bit as to, who's doing it best. Because I have my opinions of who's doing it best, and I have my opinions of who are failing miserably. Like, I'm failing miserably. They are, and I'll just go ahead and say it. I feel like the Caucasian population, it is like you die and it is a horrible, horrible thing.
Yeah.
And when I would see other cultures and races, it was this like celebration of life.
Yeah.
And it was even like you think about just even after death, like the Day of the Dead, right? In Mexico and whatnot.
Yeah.
They do it. It's just like this glorious occasion. And I'm curious as to, and I know this is just highly cultural, but I feel like there's a lot that people could learn from that. When families come together, right, during the dying process, like these massive, I'd walk into a room to check on, a Hispanic in particular or African-American family. And it was just like, there's 10 or 15 people in the room, but 90% of the time somebody's in the dying process and I walk into a white person's room. It's just like, they're alone.
1 or 2.
And it was super bothersome to me that it happened over and over and over again. And I'd be curious what you see and what you think is the fix there.
That's a great question. And, now that you said that, and I'm thinking about it a lot more. Because it's true. I truly don't know, why, but,
Well, think about it, come back and tell us how we're going to fix it.
I think it just all goes down to just education and, but, you're right. Like, I kind of go back to, when I met a Hispanic family and I was doing a hospice 101 with them, and it was seriously 15 people in the room, all of them asking questions.
Yeah.
If there's, I'm saying there are some, Caucasian families that will have family, multiple family members.
Yeah. There's no one size fits all, but in general, over many years, this is what I saw over and over again. And I'm curious about your opinion too.
Great question.
So my experience as an administrator, I can remember probably San Antonio the most. And it was, I'll say it this way. I'll tell a story. I had one of my most favorite residents. And as an administrator, you're not supposed to say favorite residents.
You're not an administrator anymore. I guess you can get away with it.
Yeah. So I had my favorite resident because she was so difficult when she walked into the building or when she rolled into the building. She wanted things super particular. She complained all of the time. And she actually complained to another lady who complained all the time. And they were president and vice president of the resident council. And so they made our lives difficult because that resident council also talks to the state ombudsman.
So this was your favorite resident?
Yes.
Okay. We'll get there, I guess.
They complained to state, like it was all. So one day I remember walking down the road or walking down the hallway and I said, you know what? You're going to be my favorite resident and I don't care what it's going to take. So I went to her room every single day. Miss Angie Caldera was her name. And I said, it's so good to see you. How you doing today? And made it my point and made it my mission that I was going to win her over, and she was going to love me. I was going to love her. And most importantly, we were going to fix all of her issues, her complaints, all of those things. Right. Fast forward, a year, and she became my favorite resident. The complaints stopped coming. And one thing that I did as administrator is I bought a box of donuts every Friday. Every Friday was Donut Friday. And I would walk up and down the hallway giving residents, giving staff members donuts, just as a celebration and as a memoir of thank you for this week. Thank you for doing a great job all week. Friday, we celebrate. Friday is Donut Friday. And I'll tell you this, whenever I didn't bring it, Angie Caldera was the first one to complain. She complained about not having donuts. And so before she passed, I have a picture of me bringing a donut to her at bedside. Did she see it? Of course she did. She was definitely there. She definitely felt it. But it was important to me that I did that. And the reason I say that is I was in a room filled with people. Before her transition, her room was packed, and it was in the height of COVID. So there were people wearing gowns and masks and N95s. And I was one white little guy coming into her room filled with Hispanics. And they welcomed me with open arms. It was filled, and it was just so different. That was probably one of the most vivid memories and experiences that I had with death and dying and the art of death and dying, that they celebrated life. They celebrated just as if you were born. You were born, exactly, but you were transitioning to a new life. And so they celebrated that. And it was really cool to experience that. It was nice to be involved with that. But I'll never forget that for probably my entire life.
Yeah. Great story.
You mentioned the art of, death and dying. And, a lot of people could be scared of death and dying, but something I've, realized and I've seen is, when someone's, transitioning and, they know that, their time is limited.
Yeah.
The stories that you talk about, the bonding is on a whole nother level.
Isn't it?
Yes. I mean, it's truly like everlasting memories that you will, it's, people come to peace. There could be a time where, a mom and a son haven't talked for, 2 or 3 years, but, if they'll connect, we've seen a lot of cases that, a patient's holding on for something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She's not.
Is that a thing?
Oh, I truly believe it.
100%, right?
I believe it. I mean, I've seen a case where a patient was, non-responsive, just, sleep, but still there. Son was out of state, couldn't make it for a week. Patient held on till the son came. Son came, said his goodbyes. Patient passed the next day.
Mm-hmm.
I truly believe they know they're waiting for something.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's just that
I think Andrew's waiting for her donut. Yeah.
Never know.
That's why it's funny you say that, because I didn't remember kind of that piece to the transition is people holding on for something. And I vividly remember believing that she was holding on for that donut. Mm-hmm. And I rushed over there as fast as I could. And that's so cool that you mentioned that. I didn't remember that until just now.
It happens all the time. I mean, you talk to any hospice nurse who's, bedside, boots on the ground. Yep. If they have a patient who has been transitioning for quite some time, they're holding on. Their first thought would be they're holding on for something.
Who is it?
Holding on for someone.
What is it?
Yeah. They'll ask families questions like, hey, is there a son that's out of town that haven't seen mom yet? So.
Isn't that wild?
It's very common. My wife lost her mom 5-6 years ago, and, she was transitioning, and my wife's brother lived in New Orleans, and, she was transitioning, but she was holding on for something. Noah came in town and, was with Samantha's mom and ended up passing away after,
wow,
said her goodbyes.
Mm-hmm. What a cool story.
So I truly believe it.
That's awesome. I mean, do you feel like I'm going to always ask this question, on this episode, because it is our purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like that's your purpose? And if so, like what kind of gratitude and what does that give you doing what you do? Why do you do what you do?
Absolutely. There's 6, 7, possibly 800 hospices out there. I think majority of them are doing it, maybe the wrong reason. I wouldn't say the wrong reason because you have to have a compassionate heart, but I truly think there's a handful of really good hospices I'll put my loved one on.
Yeah.
And I wanted to open that up. I wanted to add another option.
Yeah.
But also I'm prideful of this. I wanted to open up a true family-owned hospice that we will be personal. I mean, when you sign up for Valor Hospice, you're my family now. You know, when I used to meet with family members, the daughter signing hospices, and I'm like, we're going to take care of mom, I promise. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, absolutely.
What a comforting feeling that must be. It's like, hey, we're going to take care of mom.
Yes, and and we back it up. So,
yeah. So switching gears a little bit, moving towards just the the economics, the business of running a hospice, as a lot of people want to understand. Your growth strategy so far, it sounds like opening up de novo. You go into a city, see an opportunity, but have you thought about acquiring any existing hospices in an area, and then maybe transitioning the culture over to Valor?
Absolutely, we definitely have thought about that, and it's still on the table. Mm-hmm. It just has to be the right hospice. When we looked at a couple hospices, and we do deep dives into their charts, and
mm-hmm.
We're like, oh, maybe this isn't the right one for just whatever reason. Mm-hmm. But no, that's definitely a possibility.
Yeah, what would you be looking for in an opportunity like that?
Just a clean license. ADC, average daily census, is up to par. Just them doing the right thing. Charting is amazing because when you acquire the hospice, I mean, that hospice is yours. Something that could happen 7 years ago, like state comes in and be like, hey, what's happened here? And I just want to be aware of what I'm buying.
Yeah.
Transparency is key, especially when doing that. And I haven't done it yet, but I think we will. And
cool.
I like challenges, so I think it will be a challenge of let's say we bought a hospice that's been running for 15 years. They've only had 30 patients. Staff's been there for 10 years. They have a culture that they're familiar with.
Yep.
It will be challenging.
It's always challenging.
Yes, but I like challenges, and
James, you've done that once, twice, 3 times before?
11.
Tell me your experience.
Yeah, no, I mean it's that's probably the hardest part is bringing in someone that already has an identity, a company that has an identity, and then telling them hey, we were going to make it ours now. And sometimes it's been easier than others. I mean, it's never been easy. Let me rephrase that. Since it's harder than others, they're all hard. But if people are there for the right reasons, they're usually going to get on board because we have a solid mission, vision. The core values here are strong, and everybody understands what we're trying to accomplish. But on the same vein of that question, I'm curious what you think about just the reimbursement climate that you're under in hospice. I know it's interesting. Just kind of what's new in the world of hospice. Is there anything coming down the pipe from Austin or DC that's going to be changing reimbursements or changing how you look at the business moving forward?
Oh man, that's a mystery. That answer could change every day. I mean, especially dealing with reimbursement from Medicare and Medicaid. Mm-hmm. The thing that is concerning, and this is a big problem with hospices all over, is the time that Medicaid is taking to renew someone's contract. Mm-hmm. It should be a 3-month, 2-month deal, but it's taking 2 years, 3 years.
Wow.
I mean, it's truly a problem. It's truly a problem. I want to start doing like some lobbying work in Austin and bring it more in light. I want to get more involved with our politics so I can just have a voice. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But as a family-owned company, we rely on month-to-month billing. If anything ever happens to a contract of ours, that's
it's a big deal. So, a lot of people suffer.
Yeah, and a lot of people will probably go out of business if Medicaid keeps dragging their feet. Which I don't know if they're dragging their feet. I just think they might be understaffed and maybe still working from home.
Mm-hmm. Is there a standard organization that represents hospice in Texas? Or
Texas New Mexico Hospice Association. I know they do some lobbying work. Mm-hmm. we have some friends in Austin that also helps us. So we're slowly reaching out and trying to bring it to light. But, I'm very prideful of being a family-owned company, and I know, how hard I worked. And I know there's people like me out there that owns a hospice and worked hard. Yeah. And if their Medicaid contract, didn't get renewed and they rely on, nursing homes like we do, that'll send them out of business. And, for why? Because they're understaffed or dragging their feet. I mean, that's not their fault. They pour their blood, sweat, and tears to open up this company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Exactly.
It's good. What else you got, James? I like your questions. James,
No,
James is a good questions.
You're the guy, Kip. Go for it. I'm just here to participate.
I don't. What do you got for us? Anything else?
How long you been doing?
Principal Health 10 years now. A serial entrepreneur. Spent, I guess I built my first company in 2009, 10, something like that. So I've been at it a minute. Yeah.
What would your first advice be for a young entrepreneur?
Don't quit. I mean, I think statistically, you're looking at 92% of businesses don't make it 5 years. 95% of businesses don't ever make more than $1 million of revenue. Partnerships fall apart 98% of the time. Be very wise on who you pick as your partners. Consider what most people would look at as failure, just your first roadblock. It will continue. You will fail in your business many times. And if you can work through that failure and get past it, you're going to look back at it and go, okay. But there's a lot of people around you that'll say, hey, it's over. And if you just keep pushing and you don't quit, you're either going to run out of time or money. So if you don't die, you've got more time. And if you run out of money, you can borrow money.
Absolutely.
Or borrow more money. Take on investors. I mean, it's just, there's a lot of ways out. And at some point, you just have to consider, that's such a loaded question. There's so much strategy to it. But a new entrepreneur, it's just, I think it's just, it's really, really challenging. Just understanding. Actually, I think the one of the biggest gifts I was given is ignorance. I didn't have somebody around me that was an entrepreneur to tell me how challenging it was going to be.
Yeah.
And therefore, when I did get to points where I probably looking back should have said, this is too much, I should quit. I didn't know better. So just kept going.
Kept pressing.
Yeah. I agree with everything you just said. I mean, especially the part of just, not giving up. Mm-hmm. Something I've learned, during these short 4 years is, don't give up and also don't be discouraged. Because, there's problems that happen every day. Oh, yeah. If you have a really big problem and it takes 2 or 3 months to solve it, and then you're finally done, just know something else is going to happen.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think that can scare people off. Sure. It's just dealing with problems. But I think what makes a good entrepreneur is being a good problem solver.
Yeah.
Sure.
So
that's a great way to put it. Yeah. You've got to be a good problem solver, and you've got to be able to wear a lot of different hats.
Yeah. Yes. I agree on that.
And be a phenomenal recruiter.
Got to have the good people.
I think that's what I'm best at is people and recruiting. I mean, he knows a lot of my staff in Fort Worth. We have some really heavy hitters when it comes to nurses, marketers. I mean, I'm trying to have the all-star team of all of hospice in Texas, and I don't take no for an answer.
Yeah, there you go.
I'll come back in 3 months and be like, "Are you ready?"
Yep.
So just the team I have is just crazy. We have a lot of Michael Jordans.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's been awesome to see your progress, your process, your growth. I've been following Valor Hospice for a little while. I've known Garrett King for a little while as well. And it's been an honor. It's been a pleasure to know you, to watch you. I'm rooting for you. It's nice to hear your purpose. It's nice to hear your stories, kind of what you've experienced. I appreciate you sharing with us your knowledge, the art of dying, just the things that are important for family members, the things that are important for people to hear. And thank you for sharing with that, or I guess sharing with us on that today. It's been great to have you. It's been great to chat with you.
Absolutely. This was awesome. I appreciate y'all inviting me.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for joining. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Our Purpose Podcast. I'm your co-host, Kip Kruger. James Dieter, our special guest, Garrett King. It's been a pleasure, honor. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thanks for teaching us about dying, death, and Valor Hospice.
Appreciate y'all. Thank y'all.
Okay.
Got it.
See you.